Hello and welcome to Business 360. I'm Shireen Bhan. The headlines we're tracking this evening. The Sensex and the Nifty hit their highest level in 13 months as stock markets across the world rise after positive US inflation data overnight. The Nifty Bank hits another record high. It's the biggest rally in the Indian rupee over the last 4 years. Gains over 100 paise against the dollar, hitting its highest level in nearly 2 months. On her first visit to India as the US Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen meets Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, visits the Microsoft campus in Noida, sends a message to China, calls for efforts to make supply chains resilient through friendshoring. Reliance, Adani, Capri Global, OP Jindal Group are among the 15 suitors for future retail. Sources say banks will hold a committee of creditors meeting over the next few days to discuss the bids. The Supreme Court asked the government to reconsider an additional 10% levy imposed on Vedanta's percentage of revenue from Rajasthan's Barmer oil fields. Vedanta proposes to double output if the government withdraws the levy. Government defends the levy, and the apex court calls for a decision to be taken in 6 weeks. The Supreme Court fumes at the centre, says keeping collegium recommendations on hold is unacceptable, issues a notice to the Union Law Secretary seeking reasons for the delay. The Supreme Court observes the centre is neither approving names nor communicating reasons for withholding approval. Top executives continue to walk out of Twitter, and Elon Musk hints at a potential bankruptcy as his ownership of the company enters the 3rd week. Fake Twitter accounts flock to get a blue check mark, creating chaos for several companies, brands and individuals. SoftBank swings to profit for the first time in 3 quarters after selling significant stake in its crown jewel Alibaba for $37 billion. But the Vision Fund, which invests heavily in tech stocks, has lost nearly $10 billion last quarter. China eases its stringent COVID restrictions despite a surge in cases, reduces the quarantine time for international travelers by 2 days, ends the penalty for airlines for bringing in positive cases. Well, let's start with the day's market action. Inflation is easing in the US, and that has sparked a rally across global stock markets. The Lal Street hitting the highest level in 13 months. The Sensex gained over 1,100 points. The Nifty rallied over 300 points. Bank stocks leading the charge again today, with the Nifty Bank Index ending at a record high. Mid-caps, though, underperformed, with the index ending barely in the green. Prashant is standing by with the market wrap. Overnight inflation cheer impacting global markets and ours as well, Prashant.
Big outsized moves overnight, and the market here responded. The Nifty started with a big gap. It accumulated gains through the course of the day and actually ended at the high point. The Bank Nifty, not so much. It ended higher, but in the middle of the high and the low point today. Broader markets at the margin did not participate as much. They were flat to slightly higher. HDFC and HDFC Bank, by the way, were responsible for 50% of the Nifty gain. So that is outsized contribution. And then you had technology, both large cap and broader tech names, which did very well. Even new age companies, recently listed digital companies did very well. Yields, remember, in the US have crashed. They're a big driver for some of these companies which don't make a profit now, but perhaps will in the future. So the likes of Zomato, PB Fintech, etc. did well. In the broader market, more gainers than losers. So Cochin Shipyard, All Cargo, Newland, Godfrey. Some of these, of course, are continuing gains from earlier in the week. Autos were under pressure. So you had Eicher, Hero and Mahindra, which lost quite a bit. Broader market pressure coming through again, largely earnings related. So Indian Hotels, GNFC, Campus lost sharply from recent highs. Container Corporation, Chambal, Fluorochem, a few others as well. All in all, I mean, nothing really to complain. I think follow-through in global markets will be important because we've had very large moves and you want to see a continuation, maybe not the same kind of gains, but in the same direction if gains continue. Newer highs here in India are not very far away. Back to you.
Prashant, many thanks for joining us. On to the currency market action, where the Indian rupee posted its biggest intraday gain against the dollar in 4 years. $1 now costs nearly 81 rupees. Other Asian currencies also rallying against the dollar. Lata standing by with more on the money market action. Lata, 80.79, that's the dollar rupee today.
Big rally is seen in the rupee. It is at now 7-week highs. And this is in concert with all Asian currencies, largely because, of course, of the dollar fall. Now, the added advantage for India is that because of the return of risk appetite, one sees more dollar inflows as well from the FPIs. But it's possible that in this leg, the Indian rupee may underperform the Asian currencies like the Korean won. One, because those underperformed all this while, and therefore there is more reason for them to rally. Also, they are more dovetailed to the rise in the US economy. And that's why the rupee is also seen as a safe harbor. And therefore, at a time when all currencies are rallying, we may rally a little less. The chances in the immediate run are that exporters will panic because your 83 is nowhere around the corner and they may come in and sell. So a bit of overshoot all the way towards 80 is expected. Where the Reserve Bank comes in is what the market would be most interested. The last time the Reserve Bank bought was at 78.50. So we will have to see when they draw the line in the sand. After all, they will also want to refurbish their reserves. So a quick word on bonds as well. 10 basis point fall, and why not? The bond yields in the US have fallen by almost 35 basis points, and therefore a sentimental fall in Indian yields is also expected. So now the bond prices are also at 7-week highs. But here again, there are auctions, and there are auctions coming. Fertilizer deficits are high. So perhaps the rally will be limited, but a rally nevertheless.
All right, Lata, many thanks. And even as the stock markets rally, all major cryptocurrencies continue to trade in the red as investors remain cautious. On a weekly basis, the Bitcoin is down by nearly 18%. Ethereum is down by over 21%. Binance, Ripple, Cardano are some of the other cryptocurrencies that have declined by more than 10% this week. So the chaos in the crypto market continues. U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen arrived in India to participate in the India-U.S. Economic and Financial Partnership Dialogue. This comes just few days ahead of India taking up the presidency of the G20 summit. After visiting Microsoft's facility in Noida, the Treasury Secretary met with Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, after which the two held discussions on the India-US ties. Yellen said the Indo-US partnership strengthened while the world was reeling under COVID-19. She added that countries around the world have been overly dependent on risky countries as a single source for critical inputs. She said the U.S. is proactively deepening economic integration with trusted trading partners like India. Finance Minister Sitharaman said the India-U.S. partnership will facilitate a policy stance to address the ongoing global economic challenges.
The world economy was still recovering from the COVID-19 pandemic when Russia launched its brutal, unjustified invasion of Ukraine. This generated an unwelcome shock to fuel and food prices and greatly exacerbated inflation pressures. But challenges like this help strengthen partnerships like the one that exists between the U.S. and India.
Our meeting today will lend greater vigor to our economic relationship, strengthen business-to-business links, and facilitate coordinated policy stance to address the pressing global economic challenges. The 9th meeting of the EEFP is also being held against the backdrop of India preparing to assume the G20 presidency.
India's membership in the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework and efforts to make our supply chains more resilient through what I call friendshoring are tightening those ties. Indeed, our collaboration in this forum can not only promote each of our economies' growth and stability, but can also be instrumental to supporting economic prosperity across the Indo-Pacific region.
At a time when the United States is focused on countering the economic consequences of the Ukraine-Russia war and China's dominance over supply chains, the country's Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen made an important visit to India. Yellen started her day with a 90-minute visit to Microsoft's India headquarters, interacting with industry leaders and software engineers. In her remarks to the press, she lashed out at President Putin and said that stopping the war would be the best thing for the global economy.
Take Russian energy exports. Russia has long presented itself as a reliable energy partner. But for the better part of this year, Putin has weaponized Russia's natural gas supply against the people of Europe. It's an example of how malicious actors can use their market positions to try to gain geopolitical leverage.
The Treasury Secretary referred to friendshoring 6 times in her 20-minute speech, outlining the U.S. strategy to secure supply chains and diversifying them beyond China.
Or disrupt trade for their own gain. The United States is pursuing an approach called friendshoring to diversify away from countries that present geopolitical and security risks to our supply chain. To do so, we're proactively deepening economic integration with trusted trading partners like India. Our strategy will also create redundancies in our supply chain to mitigate overconcentration risks.
Referring to democratic values more than 10 times in her speech, Yellen said that democracies are at an inflection point.
We're living at a critical time for the cause of freedom around the world. Democracies require our constant attention and nurturing. It's important for all democracies to renew our commitment to civil liberties and human rights, including for all our minorities at home and abroad.
Yellen highlighted that US will work closely with India in the G20 for meaningful debt relief, addressing the climate crisis, making cross-border payments cheaper, and reducing frictions to the flow of data. Secretary Yellen said that India-US ties are strong and will only deepen over time. Her message was very clear that US would like to vigorously pursue economic integration with India, and India is a critical partner for implementing the US vision on secure and reliable supply chains. With video journalist Rajinder from the Microsoft headquarters in Noida, this is Parikshit Luthra.
Well, earnings. Auto manufacturer Mahindra & Mahindra reporting a 57% year-on-year jump in revenue for Q2. The automaker's profits rose by over 38%. EBITDA grew by 50%. The margin number saw a 50 basis point decline, coming in at 12% versus 12.5% last year. Domestic auto sales continue to grow year-on-year. According to the SIAM data, total sales rose 6% to over 19 lakh units. Three-wheelers saw a 70% jump, while passenger vehicles grew by nearly 29%. Inflation impact in rural markets has dented two-wheeler sales, which saw sluggish growth of just 1.6%. A GDP downgrade for India as global uncertainty continues to linger. Global ratings firm Moody's has slashed India's 2022 GDP forecast to 7% from the earlier estimate of 7.7%. The revision is attributed to inflation, high interest rates, and slowing global growth. This is the second time that the agency has cut India's growth estimate this year. The Supreme Court has asked the centre to reconsider the additional 10% levy that it imposed on Vedanta's revenue percentage from its Barmer oil fields. The company had proposed doubling its production at Barmer if the centre withdrew its decision. Ashmit Kumar joins us now with more. Ashmit, the centre opposing any reduction of levy. Take us through where things currently stand.
Well, Vedanta is very clear with its argument. They believe that as per the production sharing contract, it now stands extended till 2030, and that unilaterally no amendment can be made to the production sharing contract, much less for increasing the amount payable by Vedanta to the government. The government stand, however, has been that there has been a new policy, the new exploration policy of the NEP. The NEP very clearly prescribes this increased 10% load on the company, and that this is applicable across all the companies, not just specifically on Vedanta. And further, the government argues that this is merely a 10% increase after 25 years of operation of the Barmer airfield, and therefore the government is calling it reasonable. However, the Apex Court has taken note of the argument that Vedanta put forth, that this 10% additional load cast on them can in fact be used to be deployed back into the Barmer oil field, which will cause for a doubling of the production, which in turn will cause for better revenues for the government and even a higher forex. This is an argument that struck a chord with the Apex Court, and the Supreme Court has now directed the centre to go back to have a rethink on this position, on this additional levy, and to get back. So to doing that, the Ministry of Petroleum now has 6 weeks' time to consider this proposal coming in for Vedanta on the directions of the Apex Court, and they have to give their response by January of 2023. Back to you.
Thanks very much, Ashmit, for joining us. Time for us to head into a break, but when we return, SoftBank swings to profit for the first time in 3 quarters after selling significant stake in its crown jewel, Alibaba, for $37 billion. That and more when we return.
What is the current status of our cyber robbery?
Little bit playing tricks.
Alluring them. A little bit.
Tempting them a little bit.
After that, their all money will be ours.
Our little awareness can stop their laughter and cunning tricks. Do not use unauthorized apps, unknown links, and don't allow unsecured Wi-Fi connections. If something wrong happens, report the matter immediately on helpline numbers.
How will 5G impact the business of content creation? Sector experts throw light on how 5G will drive the next generation consumer experiences. What CNBC-TV18 and Qualcomm present the 5G opportunity at these times.
Presented by Qualcomm.
India's biggest leadership summit is back for envisioning a new tomorrow with eminent global leaders on a digital-first platform. This is the Hindustan Times Leadership Summit from 8th to 12th November 2022. Register now, experience, engage, express.
How about listening to global market maestros before crafting your investment strategy? How about getting deep insights into their businesses from top Indian honchos before putting your money on the line? How about making every trading day profitable with strategies from the market masters, macro pundits, and chart wizards? Only one show gives you a head start to your trading day. Get ready to profit. Get ready for business with Bajar at these times on CNBC-TV18 and CNBC-TV18.com.
2 साल में rate rocket 100%.
क्या भाई साहब? Get सही price trends at 99acres.com. घर लेना हो या बेचना, expert से ही पूछना. 99acres.com.
Inox Green Energy Service Limited now proposes an initial public offer of equity shares. The 100% book built offer is being offered at a price band of ₹61 to ₹65 per equity share. Offer opens on Friday, November 11th, 2022. Offer closes on Tuesday, November 15th, 2022. For risk factors and other details, please refer to the red herring prospectus dated November 3rd, 2022, which is available on the websites of SEBI, the BRLMs and the stock exchanges.
A CNBC TV18 news break is now confirmed. 13 players are in the race to acquire future retail, including Reliance and the Adani Group. Ritu, who broke that story last night, joins us now with the list of contenders. Ritu.
That's right. Of the 15 names that we had highlighted, and we'd also highlighted that UV has actually backed out. These 13 names that you're seeing on your screens now on flashes are the ones that have been shortlisted, including an additional bunch, which is still being verified. So that leaves some of the biggest names, biggest conglomerates in the race. Reliance through its subsidiary, Reliance Retail Ventures, which of course we know did not materialize. Adani is a surprise entrant, and here it has submitted an EOI through a joint venture, which is called the April Moon Retail Private Limited Company, which is a JV between Adani Airport Holdings and the Flamingo Group promoters. So that is the other key contender to watch out for. There is an OP Jindal Group company which we reported, which is Nalva Steel and Power. Then you have other players like Shalimar Builders, which is a real estate company, some other real estate firms as well as a consortium between little-known people, W.H. Smith Travel Limited, United Biotech. These are the names that have been shortlisted. We've been given to understand by 20th is when the final list from the shortlist will be invited, to submit binding bids. That's when we'll see the real, sort of expressions of interest being converted into binding bids. Lenders aren't expecting a lot of these to actually make bids, so we'll have to see how it goes. But it will be a huge haircut from the 24,000 kind of a deal that lenders were earlier hoping for when Reliance was in the fray.
All right, Ritu, appreciate you joining us. So that's the 13 suitors for FRL. How many of those will eventually turn in a binding bid is the question. Sources tell CNBC-TV18 that several states have expressed concerns over the reduced number of GST Council meetings. The Finance Minister has taken cognizance of their concerns and is likely to hold the next GST Council meeting within a month. Timsy Jaipuria is standing by with the details. Timsy.
That's right. What sources are telling CNBC-TV18 is the fact that delay in GST Council meetings has irked some of the states, and several states have voiced their concerns to center on the reduced number of council meetings. If we see this particular calendar year, that between January till October, GST Council has met only once. And the states which have voiced these concerns include Tamil Nadu, Chhattisgarh, West Bengal, Rajasthan, Andhra Pradesh, Delhi, Kerala, Punjab, etc. Also, states say that council should meet as per rules. Council should be informed about delay in formalizing of GOM reports, if at all that is the reason, which is why Centre is not holding meetings. And what we are given to understand is the fact that GOM reports that have been delayed recently include the one on online gaming casinos, horse racing, the one on GST appellate tribunals, also the one on rate rationalization, which had only 3 months. So all these timelines are lapsing and the council is not even informed. Meanwhile, Finance Ministry has taken cognizance of these concerns and is likely to hold a meeting within a month's time. Let's see how soon the council meets, because as per rules, council is supposed to meet at least once in every 3 months. So let's see how soon the council holds its next meeting.
Timsy, many thanks. SoftBank Group reported a profit for the first time in 3 quarters as it sold a significant stake in Alibaba Group. Arabil Gumed joins us now with the highlights. Arabil.
SoftBank reported a 129 billion yen net loss in the first half of the year, but it did swing to a quarterly profit for the first time in 3 quarters. The Japanese tech group saw a decline in its tech portfolio, with losses at its key unit, the Vision Fund, totaling 1.4 trillion yen in the second quarter. Now, CEO Masayoshi Son told investors this morning that the company's Vision Fund was not the only one that suffered major losses.
Regardless of public securities or private securities, almost all the investments that we have made is not showing a good performance. Our Vision Funds suffered, but not only us, investors around the world is also seeing the same situation because of the damage of the equity market.
Well, that is SoftBank, but the big global story continues to be Twitter. It dives deeper into chaos after top executives have apparently resigned from the platform, drawing a sharp warning from US regulators. This came a day after the launch of new features introduced by the platform's new owner, Elon Musk. The top executives include the Chief Security Officer, Leah Kistner, who reportedly stepped down, with other key privacy or security executives, and Yoel Roth, the site's head of trust and safety, stepped down just a day after defending Musk's content moderation policy to advertisers, but apparently now tweeting saying she's very much there. So we will just have to see how this plays out. With that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of Business 360. Stay tuned to CNBC-TV18. We'll be joined by Anand Singhal, Nimesh Shah, Rima Tendulkar and Prashant Nair on our Friday favorite, the Editors Roundtable.